Good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening, wherever you're receiving this audio. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Busted Coverage Podcast. This is your host, Nicholas Persampieri, coming at you. A little bit of a rainy day tonight here at the Busted Coverage Podcast, but that's all right because I'm joined by my partner in crime, Matt Baywood. Unfortunately, Cam Griffin cannot join us for this episode, but he will be back next week. So don't you guys worry. He's okay. He's just taking a night off. All right, so don't worry, he'll be back. Before we get started, we want to just remind you guys to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Follow us on YouTube. We're also on Spotify. So in case you're ever bored at work, it's raining outside, if you're stuck in the house, got nothing to do, put us on. I think you might like us, because we're likable people. And leave comments too. We'd love to bounce back, shout out you guys, get some feedback. Let us know what you want to hear. We love that, guys, and we love you. With that said, Matt's going to go over our topics for this evening. We got quite a few things to go over, some different areas of sports. So, Mr. Baywood, if you would please take it away.
Thank you, Nick. We are going to be going through how music influences sports in various different aspects. Then we're going to transition to the opening round or the second round of the NBA and NHL playoffs because we didn't touch on it last week. So if there's any games that we end up wanting to discuss from the first round, we have that opportunity. We're going to be talking about fan behavior at live events and the NBA, the WNBA opened up the preseason. We'll briefly touch on that as well as um, the Champions League for for soccer is going on right now, and I think Nick and I have a good amount to talk about when it comes to the Barcelona game that just happened on, I believe it was Tuesday or Wednesday. It was a great game. So with that being said, we'll kick off our first topic here. Nick, I'm gonna say I'll start with you because you and I are gonna be alternating who goes first. Um, if you're ready. So the first question is
Yes, man.
how does music influence sports? And I'm gonna insert a subtopic here just to sort of guide you in which direction that I'm thinking here.
Hmm.
It's just like certain teams have songs that are played during the last few minutes of a game or when they really need like a crucial stop. In my personal experience, it was Renegade at any Steelers live event. They play it. Um, and it's sort of, you see the players get all amped up. The crowd goes wild. They start waving their terrible towels. And uh, s- it seems like 9 times out of 10, they make the play that they need to make. So, with that being said, there's some other teams that have some other music, like the Warriors. So, I guess the full question would be like, how do you think music influences the game?
So, I think it impacts it positively. Um, I think that would be the general answer to give because music obviously conveys emotion. And I think it varies by sport. I think and I always come to this example of how basketball and hip hop kind of immersed themselves in each other. Like if you think about the mid to late '80s, where hip hop really started to become more prominent, add in a little Michael Jordan, right? Magic Johnson, and then they kind of bounced off of each other. You started seeing a little bit baggier shorts. Everyone was wearing white shoes. Now you see different colored shoes. Then the sneaker game became crazy, and that kind of fashion started going into the hip hop scene. When whether it was the My Adidas, Air Jordans, eventually onto LeBrons and all that stuff, and then the music itself became prominent in the sport. Um, so but to refer to the music itself, when you're doing a warm up, you know, there are certain songs that once it plays, you start to bop a little bit more. You're a little bit more on your toes. You just get more energetic, and then the fans start getting excited, and it just creates an atmosphere, creates a vibe, and I'll also say one more thing. I feel like music is more influential on the college game itself. When Virginia Tech plays Enter Sandman, that stadium is rocking. I know Virginia Tech hasn't been that good lately, but when they are and it's a big game and you feel that they're running through the tunnel and that comes on and you just see like 80,000 people just jumping up and down and screaming, how can you not get amped? How can you like that rush of adrenaline is like none other. And it all has to do with what's being played. And certain players will have their little playlist. They listen to certain bands, they listen to certain artists. It works. People listen to music when they even go to the gym. It does have to be sports. Anything athletic, music helps with movement. Their music and movement are intertwined. So it's absolutely an influence. It's a positive influence. And I will yield my time to you, just so that way you can, get your 2 cents in there.
So yeah, I liked where you were going, especially with the pregame warm-ups. You see most players with headphones on, specifically NFL and soccer players.
Mhm.
Not so much NHL players. They sort of go out there as a unit and they got their music playing like in the arena. Basketball,
Mhm.
some teams you see shooting around with headphones on in warm-ups, but not as prominent. I think LeBron being the biggest headphone user in pregame shoot around. Um, but I mean, even in personal experience, it's just like it's sort of like you could be a little amped up, maybe a little bit nervous for a big game or something, and then you throw the headphones on. It calms your nerves, gets you in tune with, just helps you. It's like a meditation type moment without just uh, be like you're going through movements. You're not just sitting there, being one with yourself, but it's sort of like that therapeutic moment where you get your music on and it calms your nerves, gets you focused,
Mhm.
and sometimes can improve your performance, as we've noted, where Enter Sandman comes on with Virginia and the stadium's rocking. I mean, we've seen it countless times where Get Loud comes on during the Warriors game, and all of a sudden they're sinking back to back to back threes. There's just something about music and sports that have that are completely intertwined. So I've always liked it. I've liked being a part of arenas since we don't have the pleasure of performing in front of uh, stadiums worth of people, but being a part of the audience where we could scream with them. I mean, there's certain songs where MSG, when you're watching the Knicks, that come on where the crowd just starts getting loud. So it definitely impacts the players, and usually, especially the home team, because that's typically who's, if you're cheering during a game and you're getting amped up, it's usually for the team that is at that arena. Several teams have made mistakes of playing specifically Renegade at their stadium, and the Steelers are like, "Are you serious?" And then they get amped up and take over the game, and their opposing team stadiums. Doesn't happen very often, but I guess this leads to my second subtopic here: is when that crunch time music comes on, and the fans are going crazy. How much of an advantage is that noise to the home team in two different facets? Does it seem like the home team locks in and performs better, or at the same time, do you think it's the opposing team getting sort of nervous and not being able to communicate as well because of how loud the stadium can get?
I think it kind of, I feel like my answer is about to be a two-pronged kind of answer. I feel like it has to do with, you know, I feel like it might affect younger players a little bit more, that maybe have not been in that environment. So it's they're not used to it, right? Especially like when fans get loud and you hear the music and everything, and now they can't hear, like they can't communicate things. Um, and then the other thing I would say is a lot of times when adrenaline's pumping and you're so focused on your assignment and like what your objective is on the field or on the court, that I feel like sometimes certain players, they don't even notice, they don't even feel it because they're just so locked in to the moment, like this is what I need to do on this play, that they're not even listening to it half the time. Some players, it helps them. There's a certain energy level that maybe they get a quick boost. That something like not to say like a crack hit, but that just sounds a little weird. But it's that rush. And then there's certain players that you can just look at them and they're just stone cold, you know, even keeled, just focused on the game. So I think it does vary by player, and I think it also varies by if they've been in the moment before. Maybe like a rookie would be more affected by it than a 8-year veteran kind of thing that have been in those kind of situations. But I will say it definitely plays a role in the overall emotion of those final moments when you hear, you know, for example, like you hear like Hell's Bells or something, or Get Loud with the Warriors, right? And you look across and you see Steph Curry, the baby faced assassin, and they're playing Get Loud, and you know what time it is, and how do you respond? So there's definitely that um, pressure that some players will feel from the music itself and from the moment being combined. And then there's other players that it may not affect them at all just because of how locked in they are and just they're blocking out everything. So,
I mean, you could see in close games, even in these playoffs, where music comes on, the fans start getting into it, the team almost starts performing better, and it's just like a complete momentum switch. I mean, you got to get the crowd involved
mhm.
somehow. So
Oh yeah.
it could be like sometimes it's not even just to get the players motivated, it's to get the fans motivated so that the players are like, oh, we're here, we're in the game. Like we're not, people aren't walking out on us because that could play a big part in, like you said, in relatively younger players that haven't experienced that sort of uh, disappointment or the feel of that, like, oh, I've let the fans down. Some check themselves out, and that's just it. And we've seen players like Walter Clayton, we've seen players like Jalen Brunson who don't fear the moment and
Nope.
they just lock in. Whether it's music that does it or not, you damn well know that the fans play a huge role in him locking in because no matter what, he goes to the free throw line, they're chanting MVP. I mean, I heard MVP chants in Boston these 2 days ago when he made it to the free throw line in that last game. So, um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
we'll
Love
we'll get
it.
we'll get
Love it.
there very soon, Nick. We'll get there very soon. But yeah, I
I
think
know, man.
in my experience, even like there's times where I'm frustrated with the team. Like as backstory, Nick, me, Cam, and Nick have played on various sports teams together, whether it's basketball, football, and soon to be softball at some point. But there's times where I've been frustrated and Nick's been frustrated. I don't know if he's done the same thing as I have, but I've just walked away, thrown on some headphones during like a halftime, and then just sort of locked back in because there's levels of toxicity that music can help overcome. And eh, it's one of those things that could be an unprescribed medicine to the mind. So I've always been very appreciative of it. Nick, do you have any more thoughts on music on sports?
I'll tell a quick story. Um, if it even pertains to anything. I used to have a little remedy that I would do when I played rugby. Um, I not that I would play music in a particular order. Kind of really varied based on how I woke up, like what mood I was in, or how much caffeine I had before the game. But one thing I would always do is before the game started, the last song I would listen to, and I made sure to listen to it from start to finish. I don't know if you know "Requiem of a Dream." Do you know that song
It sounds
from the,
familiar.
from the movie? Well, yeah. So
Is it
for those of
Queen?
you who don't know what that is, no, it's what was that? That was the name of it. I'll look it up right now. I don't know the guy's. It's from a movie,
Okay.
Requiem for a Dream, and it is. I don't know why I would listen to that song specifically, but for some reason I would listen to that, and it's go time. So it definitely works to get you going, like to start the game, and then once I'm in the mode of, I have to tackle 300-pound dudes, I'm locked in. Like I'm ready to go, and that's that. So I used it for a like almost ritual purpose. It kind of sounds weird, like ritual purpose, like it sounds like I'm in a cult, but um, it works.
It's like a
You know,
routine.
right? It was always the last song I would listen to. I listened to it in full. If I didn't listen to it in full, I was not ready to go. It's really weird, but that was my song of choice. And every time I listen to it, I'm going to ball out. So it's all good.
My song of choice was "This Fire Burns" by Killswitch Engage.
Great song.
It just gets the feels going, gets me pumped up. Listen to it
Yeah,
almost every time I'm about to hit the field.
that's a great song. Shout out to Killswitch Engage. Great song.
Yeah, I mean it's a hugely motivational song. If you haven't listened to it, check it out. I'm not a big screamo guy overall, but especially when I'm going to hit the weights, it's just like I feel like I can lift 15, 20 pounds heavier than I would if I'm listening to any other type of music. It just like gets the adrenaline going. All right. So now that we talked about that, we're going to transition over to the NBA playoffs. And I'm going to start with Nick again because his Knicks started off the series 2-0 versus
Oh,
Boston.
yeah. Yeah.
Nick, I know ESPN's been
Yes,
all over
sir.
it, and
Yep.
there's been a lot of talks on Boston choking, but I don't think the Knicks have been given enough credit at all. So I'm going to give you your opportunity to
Mm.
give your Knicks their flowers at the moment.
Go New York. Go New York. Go. Yeah. This is not about the Celtics, all right? This is about the Knicks. Okay. And by the way, the Knicks aren't even shooting that well either. Okay. They just happen to be playing the better basketball when it matters. All right. Boston has this, like, they are adamant on shooting the three. That's their game. That's their bread and butter. The three opens up everything else for them. When it's not working, you have to do something else, but yet they persist on shooting threes. Though I found it interesting, I think they mentioned that, like, of the 100 threes they've taken, half of them were considered wide open.
Yeah, it was like 44 or 46% of
Yeah.
them were wide open.
So, granted, if they start hitting open shots, we have a completely different conversation on our hands. But that's not what's happening right now. So we're not taking it away from the Knicks. Okay. They were down 20 points twice, not once, twice. Okay. Came back, and you know what? They're getting it from all the players, right? It's Brunson, it's Cat, it's Michael Bridges, who I said 5 first round picks. Like we kept 1, 2, 3, 4. They wanted 5. Why are we giving them 5 first round picks? That's why. Those two key defensive stops. Him scoring 14 points in the fourth quarter the other night after starting 0 for 9. That's why. Okay. That's why. I have to give credit to this Knicks team, to Tom Thibodeau. These players are playing for him. I don't know what he's telling them in that locker room. And also, I want to give a very big shout out to a guy that I have not never been very high on, and that is Mitchell Robinson, because he has stepped up big time these last two games. Him and Miles McBride have been giving the Knicks something from the bench that the Knicks didn't have last postseason. And that's why they had to play 45, 46 minutes a damn game. They don't have to do that anymore. Now, game one, Cat and Brunson got into a little bit of foul trouble early, so they had to play. But because they're playing well, Tibbs can now look over and say, okay, I got two extra guys I can go to. That just does so much for him coaching, for the starters, for Mitchell, and for Miles McBride themselves individually. I mean, as Stephen A would say, or excuse me, what Spike Lee would say, orange and blue skies tomorrow, because we're actually recording this on a Friday, recording a little early. Tomorrow in the Garden, if the Knicks go up 3-0, you will never hear the end of it from me, from Stephen A, from Skip, from Knicks Nation. Orange and blue, orange and blue skies. I can see it now. All this rain that we're getting right now, it will end tomorrow after the Knicks win. The rain clouds are gonna part. The sun is gonna come out, and it's gonna be orange and blue skies. I can't wait. Let's go, baby. Take
You
it
can
away.
clearly hear the excitement. What's
3-0, baby. Oh
what's
wait, actually,
interesting?
okay. Hold on, I got one. Oh, one more thing. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. One more thing. Jalen Brown, Charlie Brown, Foxy Brown, Doodoo Brown. Knicks in 4. Yeah.
um, what's interesting is
Sorry,
that
go ahead.
it seems like Tom Thibodeau is testing the Celtics 3-point ability because they are so live by, and die by the three that if they're going to be missing their 3-point shots, it seems like the Knicks are intentionally leaving them wide open.
Yeah, he said, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, you just
Go
see
ahead.
like Brunson cut off a possible passing lane and just leave Brown or Tatum wide open, take a shot, clank, you know? It's just like if you're not going to be hitting them, why are we going to guard them? You guys can because there is clearly an interior defense weakness on the Knicks that they're guarding heavily. And that would be Cat and Jalen Brunson. And they're helping in all the right places. And if you're not going to hit your open threes, there's no way you're going to beat this Knicks team because they are resilient. You've seen it multiple times in the season. They never got it done against Boston, but you saw glimpses of this comeback, and they're just finishing it when it matters most, which has been extremely impressive. I can't say a single bad thing about what the Knicks have been doing. You just hope that with Boston being such a good road team, that the Knicks shoot, and they will shoot better at home. So it's going to be an interesting series the rest of the way through. The Knicks are up 2-0. Their betting odds are slightly better than Boston, but Boston is still very close to being favorite to winning the series, even down 2 games. Interesting.
Yeah, I find that crazy because 3 of the next 4 games are in New York,
Yeah.
if necessary. Um, it's also funny. It's it's very difficult in the modern NBA to have continued success with both the same roster and playing the same way.
Hmm.
It's very hard to win back-to-back championships with, because essentially Boston has the same exact roster
Yeah.
as last year. Maybe they added some different pieces on the bench, but they made it a point to keep everybody. They kept Pritchard. They kept Derek White. They re-signed Porzingis. They gave both Tatum and Brown big extensions. Like everybody got fed. And they're playing the same exact, pretty much the same exact way as they did last year. The three ball is what won them their championship. Their ability to just consistently score from the perimeter. And they just have matchup problems everywhere. Right? That was their game. They have done really the same things. And yes, they have had a ton of open shots. It's the NBA. Like the game is meant for you to get open shots. They're not making them. So where's the adjustments from Missoula? You saw Tatum had that great driving play, basically went coast to coast on the inbound at
Yeah,
like
with the
I think it was
final
like 15
seconds.
seconds left,
Yeah, final seconds
and
of
he
the game. Yeah.
just yammed that bitch, right? But they didn't do that like all game. Why not attack the basket?
Well,
Get
to be
aggressive.
fair, they did in the first half. Like if you go back and you watch the tape a little bit, they weren't settling for those threes, like even contested. Because even like game one, they were just sitting back whether it was contested or not, and they were shooting the three. They would do a step back, they would do a weird move, or they would just shoot a three, off balance, on balance, wide open, not wide open, super contested, uncontested. In game two, in the first half, they were driving the basketball a little bit more. Like Jaylen Brown, I think he had like 15 or 19 points, and there was only one 3-point shot out of those points that he had. The rest of them were in the paint. And then all of a sudden, second half, it's like they're like, okay, we can coast the rest of this game because we're up by 20. We're not going to surely we're not going to let them go again. And here come those Knicks. They just don't give up.
Right. The key though, like you said, they went away from it
Yeah,
in the key parts of the game.
yeah,
They referred back to their main philosophy.
yeah.
That's not it's not going to work. Now, I don't doubt that Boston's going to start hitting shots at some point. They're too good of a team to not, you know. But I think it's more imperative on the Knicks now because, like I said, the Knicks haven't shot the ball very well either. Once the Knicks start hitting shots, what happens then? I'm not saying they're going to go 3 for 3 with the Celtics. They just shoot too many. It's going to come down to who can consistently get to the basket, and Boston to me just shies away from it. I don't know what it is. That's not going to win them this series. It's just not. I think they shoot way too many threes in general, but they have to consistently. And plus, all their open threes are coming from either the Knicks trying to double off the high screens or the drive and kick. So just keep driving and kicking then, or draw the foul. But whatever. Hey, what do I know? I'm
Before we
just a
move
fan.
on to the Pacers series, because that's another shocking result, or not so
Mm.
shocking if you listen to us at the Busted Covers podcast, because Nick has something to say about that series too. Um, but just the fact that you're getting your clutch points from not only Jalen Brunson, when Jalen Brunson was stone cold in overtime, you're getting it from Mikal Bridges, you're getting it from Karl Anthony Towns, you're getting it from Josh Hart. Like your four main guys are showing up when it matters most, and it can't just be one, especially when you're going to be taking down a six-headed monster like Boston. Kristaps isn't playing good. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. You got Pritchard off the bench. You got Derek White who can shoot. Drew Holiday who's made big shots in this series already, but it's obviously been overshadowed by the fact that the Knicks stole the game from them both times on their home court. So definitely a lot to watch here. The series is nowhere close to over yet, but if the Knicks knock down that door tomorrow night and win game three, Boston might just be in their head for the rest of the series. Now they have come back and tied a 3-0 lead before in Miami a couple years ago. Miami ended up getting it done, but this Boston team isn't unfamiliar with these situations just yet. So it's still, no matter what, you got to get the job done. You can't just start handing out games here or there. So congrats to the Knicks on 2 games, but as Kobe would always say, the job's not done.
It's not finished. Yep.
Moving on to the Cavaliers Pacers series. Nick texted me the other night and he's just like, it was like, who was it? No Mobley, no Hunter. He's like,
And no Garland.
and no Darius Garland. And he's like, I think we need to go with Indiana tonight. I was driving. I'm like, sounds good to me. When you see an injury report like that, it's like all you got is Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, we'll take that all day. I didn't have time to place. The game had already started. Like I think it was like that was just like right before the game time because I think you said you waited for the final injury report to come out before you responsibly placed your bet. So by that time, by the time I got home, it was already probably like midway through the first quarter. They were down by a good amount. I didn't place until about I think they were down by almost 20. And Nick said, he's like, I still have hope. And just the way that this whole entire second round has been going, where the road team's been winning, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm going to back up Nicky picks here. And once again, we are still undefeated as dual picks together. So we've taken the Indiana pick. We also took the Toronto Maple Leafs to upset the Florida Panthers. I did it not once, but twice. We called that here right on the Busted Covers podcast. So shout out to ourselves. Round of applause. And anyway, back to this series. Halliburton, we've seen him make this shot several times over his career, and people still criticize him. What are your thoughts on Tyrese Halliburton, and do you consider him one of the most clutch players in the NBA?
Well, I gotta tell you, I don't know if I mentioned this last week or a couple weeks ago or something. It might not have been on the air. It might have been off record. There was an anonymous player poll taken, and Tyrese Halliburton was voted the most overrated player in the NBA. And so after game one, I believe he tweeted overrate that, right? And when he hit that step back in game two, which by the way, there's some controversy. There might have been some lane violations or whatever, right? Things that didn't get called. I don't know. Hey, let him play. At the end of the day, he had the ball in his hands. I think it was Ty Jerome was guarding him, who, by the way, he took a piss that game. He was 1 of 14. Anywho, let's not take this away from Tyrese. When he hit that, the moment I knew, I'm like, he's going to do a step back right now. Step back three for the win. And then he hit it. He should change that tweet to overrate these nuts. I'm talking big balls. That was a big ball shot. I'm not going to say he's the most clutch player in the NBA because Jalen Brunson won that award. I got to stick with my Knicks here. But let's not forget, the Pacers went into Madison Square Garden last year, Game 7, and blew them out. In the first, I think was it second round or first round?
Second round, second round. Yeah. But
Yeah.
to be fair,
So
the Knicks were decimated and Jalen Brunson had broke his wrist.
I know, but I'm just saying the Pacers have been in that moment. This is not just a fluke team that beat the Bucks. Granted Dame was hurt and stuff, but this is a team that's been there before. They were in the conference finals last year. Tyrese Halliburton deserves all the credit in the world. He's a villain in New York. Don't get it twisted. But man, when he hit that shot, he became a superstar when he hit that shot. That's just my opinion. Because
It genuinely
that,
took my breath away. Like I woke up the whole house when I saw that shot. I'm like, no way. That was just unbelievable.
yeah, to hit that kind of shot after being down 20,
On the
after being
road.
voted on the road, after being voted the most overrated player in the league, he took that, as Jordan would say, I took that personally.
Mm.
that was his I took that personal moment. Man, and I'll tell you what, live update here because we always give our viewers that good shit. We're always live. They're only down 11 with 8:22 to go.
Coming back from
They're
another
trying to
20 point. Yeah.
they're trying to come back again. If they do it again, I don't know what the hell Vegas is going to do.
I
But
mean, I've been watching this.
maybe I,
Cleveland just called a timeout because Siakam hit a massive three.
yeah, I had I think I had doubled down on them at the end of the third quarter. Let me hold on. Let me double check. Compulsive gambling here at its finest. Not really compulsive, more impulsive.
What?
Toronto and Florida Panthers going to overtime, by the way.
It's
Um,
going to be a great series. I do think that series will go to 7.
I hope so, man. That would be. Oh, I did. Yeah, I doubled down on it. Wow. All right. Well, let's see what happens, guys.
It seems like
We're
the
gonna
Cavs
find
are
out.
going cold. They're
We're
getting
gonna
some
find out
offensive
together
rebounds
if
too.
this was a good idea or not.
I
But
mean,
yeah, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to change
and
topics there.
and Halliburton overcame Siakam's failures at the free throw line too, because they had chances to take the lead and tie the game or bring it closer with Siakam at the line. He got fouled. I think he took it. He had
Yeah.
an and one, and then he had 2 free throws towards the end of the game where he missed both. I think Halliburton was the one that came in and flew and got the rebound.
I don't. Yeah, I think so. I know Nemhard's been playing well.
Oh
Mathurian
yeah.
had a good game in game two. So that it's kind of the same thing with the Knicks. They're getting contributions everywhere. So, um, I don't know, man. What all this the narratives about Boston and Cleveland being the clear cut 2 best teams. Maybe that narrative was wrong. Maybe I don't know.
Or
Still
maybe
a lot of this.
they're getting in their head about it, and they're like, oh, because it does happen where teams play down to other teams' competition,
This is also true.
and you never know. I mean, it's the NBA, and if you're not gonna
A lot.
if you're not gonna lock in, like I mean, even OKC was supposed to be this formidable team that's supposed to stomp any team that they go through. I mean, we saw Jokic just single handedly win game 1 practically.
Yeah, is Jokic their head coach now? Can we
He
call him? Can we call him Coachich?
he's
It's,
not only is he the Kochich, that's original nickname created by Nick on the Busted Coverage podcast. You
he's
heard
now
it
the
here
Coachich.
first. Nikola
Don't steal it,
Kochich
NBA.
had 22
Coachich.
rebounds and 42 points in game 1. They won by
That's
2. But when are
nuts.
you
And
gonna
then the next game, you lose by 40.
you see him
Like,
yelling? He's doing the whole coaching thing on the sideline through timeouts.
oh my,
He's
yeah.
got the whiteboard, he's got the markers, he's got the ball, he's got everything. He's got a
He's like,
championship. He's got a horse.
he's
Um,
got multiple.
and
He loves his horses. That's true.
yeah, so
I'm gonna do my really bad Serbian. It's Serbian, right?
yep.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my really bad. Him in the timeout. He's like, "You are here. You need here. I get the ball. Thank you. That's my. I'll be here all week.
But in that series, like we all know how great Jokic is. You can argue him as
Yes,
MVP every year. We know that they're not going to give it to him every year because that's just how it has been recently. Um, how did you like OKC's response when they came
loved
back?
it.
It was 149 to 106.
Loved it. That's the kind of game that they needed to have. Like that, what they put out in game two is what Boston needed to do in game two.
Mm-hmm.
It's what Cleveland needed to do in game two. And I also will say Minnesota, just, and I know Steph is hurt, but they responded the way they needed to as well. Because I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but SGA needs this series. I know we're talking about him as the MVP and all this kind of stuff, but this is like the crowning moment for him, right? We're talking about who's going to be the face of the NBA going forward. A lot of people want to say the Ant Man. A lot of people want to say Luca. SGA wants to throw his hat in there. He may not come out and upfront say that, but you know damn well he wants to be one of the faces of the league, if not the face. And if you're the MVP, right, you're the face of the NBA. I guess to a degree, you're the most valuable player. You got to act like it. You got to be it on the court. He was fantastic. And I think he only missed 2 shots or something like crazy. Like he was on fire. And like you said, they put belt to ass in game 2, which is what they needed to do. Tonight's going to be very interesting when they tip off in a
Yeah,
little
because now
bit.
we're
So,
waiting for Denver's response.
yep. And they
Yes,
got 2 games
to
at home.
confirm, Shea he went 11 for 13. One of his missed shots was a 2-point shot, and one was a 3-point shot. He had 34
It's crazy.
points, 8 assists.
Yeah. He played as an MVP should. So I'm happy for him. That's going to be a fun series too. I hope that one goes 7.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah.
You had already mentioned the other game that I wanted to bring up, and that was the Minnesota Golden State. Game one, I think we were all disappointed with Steph Curry went out with an injury,
Mm.
hamstring injury, in a few minutes into the second quarter, maybe about halfway. And Minnesota still finds a way to lose that game, which they shouldn't have. Was that just a situation of winning their previous series too early and it just being rust, or is there something to worry about in Minnesota?
I would attribute it more to rust than the worry. Had they lost last night without Steph Curry at all on the court, then you got some problems. Then we ring the alarms. Um, I think I think Minnesota will be fine. Especially now that Steph is out. Because I think they said Steph's going to be out another potentially 1 to 2 games. So they could wrap this up in 5 before Steph even has a chance to get back. So if you're Minnesota, you got to play with some urgency because you know the iron's hot. This is their ticket to get to the conference finals, as Nick predicted on the air. But anyway, yeah, if you're Minnesota, like they should treat Game 3 as a must win game. Um, they have to. So I wouldn't ring the alarm yet, but if this is somehow still 2-2 going back to Minnesota, I'd be concerned when Steph comes back.
Agreed. I think they need to put full pedal to the metal, like you said. You can't let up. If there's even a hint that Steph Curry can come back in the series, you got to get it over with quick. You do not want him coming back on the court in any, whether he's healthy or not, you do not want him shooting from any distance. I mean, the guy can swish threes from the opposite 3-point arc. It's just not somebody that you want to have to face. He's probably top two, maybe even just the scariest player to play against because of the unpredictability. I mean, the guy can cut to the hoop, make acrobatic shots, circus shots. Dude could send it practically through the roof rafters and have it come splash down in your face. He can line drive 3-point shot. He can make a move. His step back's nasty. He could play on or off the ball. Just the greatest shooter of all time. I would rather play anybody else besides him. So
Yeah.
Minnesota's just got to keep their ears perked, stay alert, and get the job done here. I'd like to see them go. I'm a big fan of Anthony Edwards. I've seen him play live. Um, when he heats up, I mean, there's sometimes nobody more dangerous than him. I mean, against the Lakers, I don't even remember him having a 42 points, but he did. And whether it's quiet or not, I mean, depending on how amped up he gets, I mean, he'll talk shit too. You see him play KD, you know he's talking that shit, and he's going to be sinking threes in his face. So I love Ant-Man. I like that team. They got grit. They didn't start off the season as we all expected them to, but they're finishing it and they're heating up at the right time. So we're all excited to see what happens with them going forward. Moving on to some hockey. So being that Nick and I are the bigger hockey fans of the trio here, we had some bets earlier on in the week with the Maple Leafs and the Panthers. For some reason, the Panthers were favored away. Um, Overall, they're pretty evenly matched teams, but I don't think that the home team in this series shouldn't be any. The home team should always be favored in the series, just because of how similar they are, and that's sort of where I was going with that pick. But that being said, it's turning it like it's not like this series is like just because Toronto's winning 2-0 doesn't tell the whole story. It is a back and forth, fast paced, hard hitting, high scoring series. Um, I'm very impressed, especially with the fact that the Maple Leafs were up in game one, 4-1. Nick and I are singing our glory. We're like, oh, we got this. And all of a sudden, Brad Marchand's getting his group together, and all of a sudden it's 4-3. I'm like, uh-oh. I start falling asleep. I wake back up. It's 5-4, so I had missed two goals, but I was relieved because, my pick went through. But then game two is a similar situation where it's just like they're both one score games, and right now it's overtime, so it can only be decided by one. So these are it's just showing how evenly matched these guys are. I don't think Florida was expecting Toronto in game one to be as aggressive as they were and score. I think it was 30 seconds they came out of game one and scored. They weren't ready for that. Um, Both teams have a lot of speed, a lot of offense, and it's showing the series isn't disappointing at all. Nick, your thoughts on the series?
I gotta tell you, every time I've been watching the Maple Leafs, they do this weird thing where they'll get up and then they get bored and they're like, "Yeah, let them score three times,"
Yep.
only for them to score the one that matters.
Hmm.
It's it's been very frustrating trying to gauge this Maple Leafs team because they'll get out to a 2-3 goal lead, like you said, and you're thinking, oh, they're gonna, you know, but I guess skate to ass here, not belt to ass, right? But and then Florida comes back feisty. They did it again today, or right now. They're live.
They have a power
I
play
think
right
the
now
Maple
too.
Leafs, yeah, the Maple Leafs were up 3-1 in the second period, and Florida scores three straight, I believe, in the second period to take the lead. Then Toronto ties it in the third. So I, I don't even know what's going on with the Maple Leafs. I did pick the Maple Leafs to win the Eastern Conference, so I'm happy that the pick is still going. You know, um, but every time I watch them, man, they just get me aggravated because they get out ahead so fast. They should just put them away and just keep their foot on the throttle, and they just choose not to. It's not that they can't; they just choose not to.
It
But
seems like
credit to
they're trying to
Florida.
save energy for the next game already. It's like you can't do that.
Yeah, can't you might as well put them away while you can. But credit to Florida, they've been fighting back. You know, so they're showing grit. Now, I feel like they're going to probably get a game or two, just the way they've been able to be resilient. But if Toronto scores this goal here, I don't know. It's gonna. Has anyone ever come back from 3-0 in hockey in the second round,
Uh,
like deep in playoffs?
let me fact check this. It almost happened last year because Edmonton almost did it in the Stanley Cup Finals. I remember that because Florida was up 3-0, and I thought that Florida just wanted to win on their home ice, and Edmonton just started winning. I was like, "What is going on here? Like,
Mhm.
we can't have this happen." Uh,
But no one's ever come back from 3-0, right?
Let me see.
I know 3-1's happened a few times
Four teams have come back from a 3-0 deficit to win a series in hockey. Number
in
one,
hockey. Oh, four? Okay.
1942 is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Uh-oh.
1975, New York Islanders. 2010, Philadelphia Flyers. And 2014, the Los Angeles Kings.
Interesting. And only one of those teams are in the playoffs right now.
Yep.
Oh, I also will say, uh, going off of the Toronto pick, I also picked Edmonton to win the West and win it all. So I'm very happy that they won in overtime last night. Uh, 2 games to none also. So we're looking good right now. Looking good on that futures
Oh,
bet.
so Toronto Maple Leafs came back in the Stanley Cup Finals down 3-0 and won. They're the only team to
So it
do
has
that.
happened.
Yeah, it happened
The
in
only
the
team.
Stanley Cup Finals. Islanders took down the Penguins in the quarterfinals. Flyers and Kings took their respective teams down in the conference finals. Oh, actually, one was conference semifinals, one was conference first round, and then quarterfinals and one Stanley Cup. So,
Oh, so the one Toronto did was for the. Oh wow.
so one in each round, it seems like, has been done.
Oh,
But coming back in the biggest of all series, I mean, it was 1942, but
right.
still impressive.
Still, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, this series has been nothing but impressive. Another series that I want to touch on here, and I'm just trying to get my facts straight here. It was the closing game of the first round for Dallas. Did you catch that game, Nick? It went to game 7.
Oh, against the Avalanche.
Yeah,
Didn't that dude have a hat trick?
yeah.
What was his name? Um, and then he
Rantanen,
had a hat trick in game 1, right?
Rantanen.
Of
I
the
don't
second round.
remember. Yes, I believe he did. But Colorado got out to a 2-goal lead, and then Rantanen just took over the game. He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna score." He scores 3, and they end up winning 4-2. So congrats to the Stars. You thought that was one of those games where it's like, oh, it's gonna be classic Dallas fashion, where they get to the playoffs, they're cooking, and then all of a sudden they just don't finish in the biggest moment, and they're trying to prove it wrong because Colorado's a great team. I mean, they're 1 or 2 years removed of 2 years removed of a Stanley Cup playoff win themselves. They're not too far removed. So the fact that Dallas is able to take down uh, Colorado was impressive to me, and I'm rooting for them. I like to see underdogs win, and I think this series between Dallas right now, it it's 1-0 in Dallas's favor, but I'm looking at the score right now. The Jets are up 2-0 on them, while
Yep.
the
In the
Maple Leafs and Panthers are still going in overtime. So we'll keep giving you some live updates on that. Not that you need them because you're listening to this after the fact, but just know that we're in tune with our sports. Um, that being said, I mean Edmonton is cruising right now as you predicted. They're leading their series 2-0. Are you still high on your Edmonton pick?
Absolutely,
There's no reason not
because
to be.
I said Vegas. Like Carlson's a good player for Las Vegas, and I watched the entire game, or actually not the entire. I watched up until the end of the third period, because I just got sleepy, um, but it was late. But Vegas was attacking one side of the goal the entire game. Now that could have just been a strategy thing, but the way Edmonton can attack from the wings, from the center, from the blue. They get that Kane guy comes down. He can score. Obviously, you have Connor McDavid, who's sensational. I just think they're more talented. They were showing a stat where I think it's, I think with last night, because they got down 1-0 at the end of the first period. I think this was either the sixth or seventh consecutive playoff game they were behind in and won. It's like the longest winning streak of its kind in the history of the NHL or something stupid. And they're currently the best scoring third period team of the teams that are left. So
And
when they get behind, they can find ways to win and they close the deal when it matters.
and they can set
So,
screens and rip shots from the blue line. I mean, they're just nasty.
yep. Yeah. I think with the talent level, their ability to score, the resiliency, I just think they're a more talented team than Las Vegas. And between Dallas and Winnipeg, I think Winnipeg right now looks tired to me.
Yeah.
Um, even though they're up 2-0 in the game. But I think when Edmonton faces either Dallas or Winnipeg, they're going to be the more tired team. And I just think Edmonton would win that battle of attrition. They'll just wear them down, and that they're right to the final. So,
And Dallas is going on a power play right now. 5 minutes left in the first quarter. So this could very well be 2-1 very shortly.
mhm.
Power play is has its way of working its magic. Okay. Anything else you wanted to touch on hockey before we move on?
um,
Do you have any favorite games from either the NBA or NHL? I'm assuming you're going to pick one of the Knicks games for NBA. But do you have any favorite games so far that you thought was like
what would make you think that I would pick the Knicks?
uh
I mean, are you kidding
I
me, dude? No.
I thought it was just because of your name, but that you know.
I will say, um, those two second, I shouldn't even say the games, the two fourth quarters that the Knicks played against Boston. I mean, it's like you wrote it out of a movie. You can't write that. You can't like. There's no way that should have happened twice. That's just me. But I will say, if I were to pick a favorite game of the playoffs so far, honestly, actually, I'll say my favorite series so far was the Denver Clippers series. I thought was very good.
Mm.
Um, both teams brought it. I feel bad for the Clippers because of the way they went out. Um, but I really enjoyed those 6 games because it was just back and forth. Stars being stars, role players stepping up, great coaching, great atmospheres, and just good basketball. You know, the Knicks Pistons were fun, but it's just a bunch of fouls and low scoring, and you know the controversial no call thing kind of really usurped the series. So, but I would say favorite series so far would have been Denver Clippers. Sequences, definitely those two fourth quarters for the Knicks, and of course that Halliburton step back. Overrate these nuts as they're currently getting blown out. But hey, that shot was crazy.
They're not they're
That
getting
moment was
blown out.
nuts. The Pacers are down. Yeah, they lost. So sorry, guys.
Yeah.
Hey, doesn't always work, but they were trying to make a run. You know, is what it is. You win some, you lose some. It is what it is, guys.
All right. So we'll move on to our fan behavior topic, which I think is actually pretty important and interesting. We've had several examples over, decades of watching sports where fans sort of insert themselves into situations they shouldn't be in. We've seen, you know, the malice at the palace where
Mm.
a bottle gets flipped and it just starts in a brawl. We've seen uh, instances where, you know, I mean, this might have been more of a player issue, but Pat Bev passing the basketball back and forth with the fan and then just throwing it at him or her. I don't know if you remember that from, I think it was a year or two ago.
I don't
We've
think
had,
I remember that.
I'll
That's
try to,
hilarious.
yeah, it was a big thing, I guess. Like, I think the fan
Really.
sued for some concussion or something. I'm like, uh, okay, but we've seen fans run onto the field. We've seen Russell Westbrook get in it with fans who, racial slur at him, and when you're going to these games, you're going to watch professional basketball players play. There's no reason to get your 15 minutes or 15 seconds of fame by doing something disrespectful towards a player. Um, they're human. We get, racial slurs, gestures, talking shit with players, talking shit to players. Um, fans running onto the field. We've seen James Harrison body slam people. We see it in the WWE too. You see it in pretty much any sporting event. But where I want to go with this was um, disruptive behavior. Even with themselves, I mean, they fight themselves in the stands. But what kind of I had a way that I wanted to word this question, but I think I need to change it midway. Um, Number one, is there any place for fans to be disrespectful towards players?
Yeah, in the confines of their own home. That's about it, man. If you're gonna cross that line, like if I was a player and some like old guy came up to me and said something crazy, I'm not gonna lie. I would drop kick him so fast. Like I would get like a lifetime ban from the NBA. Like I think actually last night I think a couple of fans like were trying to I think they said some like racial slurs towards Draymond Green,
Mm-hmm.
which is that's just uncalled for.
Yeah.
It's inappropriate. Just feel how you want to feel about Draymond on the court. You know, he tried he threw a left hook at Jalen Green
Yep.
in one of the games, straight smacked him in the side of the head. Probably should have been ejected, but whatever. There's still no space for that. Like, I know the Timberwolves came out. I know they found one of those fans, and they've been banned for life. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get a ban, I think you're banned for life from the stadium, or at least for basketball games or something like that. And they were looking for one other fan, but it feels like it happens far too often, especially like when the visiting team loses.
Mm.
Granted, winners want to gloat. They won. Losing teams got to eat the crow. You know, but when racial slurs get thrown out and you're going personal, you're going below the belt. It fans need to understand that they're just fans. Like you would never approach Draymond Green, who in his own right is what 6'7", 6'8". You would never say those things to his face because Draymond he punched his own teammate in practice. He will most certainly punch you and knock you out. You know, like some of these fans just get out of control, and I know a lot of times that they're drinking and all this other stuff, but they need to know the line and like don't be shocked when players cross the line when you cross it first. Don't be shocked when Giannis is going to smack somebody eventually because he's being disrespected. Tyrese Halliburton's dad is lucky Giannis is a nice guy. Giannis would have killed him. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So even LeBron's an old man. Guess what? Try saying something about his kids, like Stephen A. found out, even though LeBron was completely in the wrong. But you don't approach a 6'8" hyper athlete and start saying racial slurs. You just don't do that. You don't do that. You're gonna f around and find out. And some fans have found out, like the Malice at the Palace.
Yep.
You don't throw beer at a player and don't expect them to come up there and fuck you up.
And the thing is Ron Artest was removing himself from the situation and becoming at
Mm-hmm.
peace, and then
See
hit
what you
that
did there.
switch. Yes, I did.
Ironically, he became Meta World Peace.
Yep. Yep.
He's still on our test, man. He's a champion now.
Yeah.
So good for him, man. He's
Uh,
also former Nick.
yep. A former Laker at some point too. Uh,
Hey, real with the Lakers.
Speaking of the Lakers, I think it was last year. It might have been the year before. I think this was actually when Shannon was still at FS1. The
Okay.
Lakers were playing the Grizzlies, and you
I
might
think I
remember this.
remember that.
And
I
Shannon
think I
Sharp
do.
was talking shit with Adams and John Morant, and then it turned into almost a Malice at the Palace situation. Shannon Sharp's trying to fight the entire Grizzlies team, and he's talking shit to John Morant's dad.
I do remember this.
Yeah. Now, it's a slightly different situation because Shannon Sharp was a professional athlete, and he's very famous in various different fashions of sports media. Does he have the right to yap with players in person, or should he treat a basketball event that he is not participating in the same as any other fan sitting courtside?
If he's not there for journalistic reasons, he's a fan.
Right.
I don't care if you're courtside or in the nosebleeds. Not to mention, granted, Shannon Sharp, tremendous athlete, still in great shape to this day. What are you doing trying to fight 5 people at once? I know. I mean, come on. I know you played football, and a touchdown's worth 6. But like, let's count here: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like, dude, you're not Jean Claude Van Damme. You're not Bruce Lee. I know you played football and all this stuff. You're looking to fight a dude who's towers over you in Steven Adams. You're looking to fight. You're looking to fight John Morant's dad, which says a lot. But that in turn means you're going to fight John Morant, who's been known to throw grenades at people, right? He's got like military grade grenades. What are you doing? Like, as Charles Barkley would say, come on, man. This is terrible. It's just terrible. Shannon, what are you doing? It's just crazy. Trying to fight Aquaman and trying to fight grenades. Grenades blow up. I'll be here all week. Thank you. That's my Charles Barkley impression. He's trying to fight Aquaman, John Morant, T. Morant. And this was when they had Dylan Brooks.
Yep.
Dylan Brooks will kick him in the nuts. He fights dirty. He ain't gonna be making no more.
And Shannon
What is it?
has
Facebook Live.
I think Shannon has two hip replacements too.
Oh boy, brother. The moment that
So
hip hits that hardwood, mm, mm-mm, mm-mm.
another point that I wanted to make,
Up
not
on
just at
my leg.
live events for fan behavior. Nick, this one's true to heart to you. Eagles fans destroying the city, whether they win or lose.
You know, if the city of Philadelphia can properly run itself, it wouldn't get destroyed. I hate to go there, but and you know what? I can't fault the city for going crazy after the Super Bowl. I almost went down there. We almost took the train after the game, so I was going to be a part of it. So, not I don't know about the whole standing on cop cars and knocking down lamppost parts. More just filming it all and be like, oh shit,
World
and
Star.
then just get on. Yeah, I don't even know. It might have been like 2 out of 5 star, but you know. So I totally understand when teams win championships, what that does for cities. But yeah, man, when you're destroying lampposts, it's like what the lampposts do to you, man. You know,
They're picking
like
up they're
like
picking up other
of
people's
all the teams,
SUVs on their shoulders and ramming them through like corner stores and delis. It's just like, come on, what are we doing here?
I'm not gonna lie, dude. If I saw like if I just saw like people carrying an SUV like it was a party sub, I I would never go to that town. Nah, that's okay.
They
Hell,
got
they can play for the damn offensive line. Are you kidding me?
yeah,
Just a line of 8 people carrying a van. Like
dr-
the Cowboys have no chance. Like, come on, Micah Parsons, my ass. They're carrying it. They're carrying the mystery machine. Get out of here.
they're on their shoulder like a boom box, using it as a battery ram.
Is that actually a thing? I'm about to look this up right now.
I know they flip cars. I don't know if they're. I
I'm
wouldn't be
looking for the damn
surprised.
Avengers in Kensington Avenue now.
Hold on. Philly fans
Oh,
carrying.
they carried a light pole.
That
That is
might be
something
what
they
it is.
definitely did. That's still pretty impressive. Those things are kind of heavy, aren't they?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yo, they straight up stole a light pole. It had the little crosswalk timer on it. It's like, wait, wait. It's like, don't take me away. Wait. Oh my god. I love it. I wish I was there. Not gonna lie. Oh my
A, a,
god. They're standing
a,
on. Oh,
a
this dude climbed on
typical
top of it.
typical city streetlight pole weighs about 500 pounds.
Ooh. Oh, this one guy climbed up on he climbed up the lamppost and was hanging from and he just face planted. Oh, yeah, that hurts. Yeah. Damn, I wish I was
So
there.
needless to say, fans should, be respectful of their city. Fans should be respectful of the professional athletes in the stadium that they're paying to watch perform. And, they're professional athletes. We aren't. They got a right to be there. We have the right to buy a ticket, but we don't have a right to, assault players and spit on them. And if we're going to get mad at people for being racists on in every day, then it should be treated the same way with professional athletes. No reason to go there. No reason to throw water bottles, beers, popcorn, um, and be disrespectful towards players. They're all human. Um, yeah, they have high-paying jobs, and they chose the field. That just doesn't mean that that's something that they signed up for. We're all better than that. So let's just try to keep it civil.
Yeah, agreed. 100%.
So this was a topic that we didn't discuss. I had forgotten about, and in the back of my head, when you mentioned Cowboys, I think you know where I'm going with this. George
Mm.
Pickens was traded yesterday morning.
Hmm.
for a third round pick and 3 cheese doodles.
3 cheese doodles, baby.
But
Expired cheese doodles.
yeah, minus 2 cheese doodles because we gave 2 cheese doodles with George Pickens in a 6th round pick back for a 5th round pick. So
We're talking like white cheddar cheese doodles.
I'd say we gave George Pickens away, who you could say is the empty bag of of cheese doodles, and then you added 2 white cheddar cheese doodles and 1
Mm,
original cheese doodle, and then you took
okay.
back half of each. So you have a half of a white cheddar cheese doodle and a half of a regular cheese doodle for that 5th round pick.
It's a bad deal, man.
I'd say.
You got to at least get sour cream and onion. Like
the
you guys got to get some Pringles or something.
So I'm gonna go on a
Cheese,
mini rant here for this because
please.
I am the Pittsburgh Steelers guy on this show. Here,
Our resident Steelers fan.
my question is did Mike Tomlin realize the draft passed? Because I think this could have been sorted out before draft day, and we could have actually used these picks to get another receiver. Because I'm not sure if we realized last year this is a very similar um, situation. We traded away somebody with anger issues. Prior to the draft, we traded for somebody with anger issues. Arguably, DK might be better, might not be. They're both situationally different. DK will give effort on every play. George Pickens maybe not. So there is upside, but the rest of the receiver room is number one, Robert Woods, Calvin Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, who hasn't played more than 5 snaps in the NFL, and there's another one that I can't remember. Oh, Scotty Miller. That doesn't sound like a receiving core that's ready to win the AFC North. When you got Derrick Henry that can run over anybody's team, Zay Flowers, they're signing DeAndre Hopkins. Then you got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, the best duo in the division, maybe arguably in all of football. We can get to that another day and time. But like, why are you trading him after the fact? He didn't want to leave Pittsburgh. I get it that you might want to because he's entering the final year of his deal. You might want to get something back for him, but unless you go out and sign Amari Cooper or Keenan Allen, which you're taking a flyer at this point, then you're going to be stuck in the same situation that you've been, which is middle of the pack, bounced in the first round. There's no threat, and Arthur Smith can't keep getting away with trying to use one receiver. It's a passing league. There's only a few teams that can get away with running the football so adamantly. Number one would be the Ravens, and number two would be San Francisco, and that still ends at a point because your quarterback's going to need to throw the ball. And if he can't throw the ball, you can't win. Number one, we don't have a quarterback, really. I mean, we have Will Howard, who has tremendous upside. I mean, when I saw him in uniform, uh, it just actually looked like we had a big quarterback again. I'm like, the guy's 6'4". We've been dealing with Kenny Pickett, who's like 6'1". We're dealing with Russell Wilson, who's probably not even 6 foot. Justin Fields is just over 6 foot. Now it actually looks like we got somebody that can see over the offensive line. Very excited for that, but not excited for him to only have one receiver to throw to. I mean, the other guys can catch the ball, but as a number one, arguably mainly number two receiver, you need somebody that can take the load off because now you got Dallas, who has CeeDee Lamb, who demands double teams, and George Pickens, who demands double teams. You can't double everybody. And we had that situation. And unless we're trading for Tyreek Hill, I don't see the point of this trade at this moment. And that's my 2 cents. I'm not the general manager of the Steelers. I never will be. But this was a head scratcher to me. Everyday reports are saying the trade talks have been squandered. The Steelers aren't taking calls for George Pickens when it seems like all along they were. And the 2026 draft to me means nothing at this point because TJ Watt only has one more year on his contract. This might be a move to keep TJ Watt. I don't know. I'm not happy with the situation until further notice. But Nick, what was your reaction to this?
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Um, I didn't care. I mean, Pickens is talented and all, but I mean, whatever, you know. It's just George Pickens. I think people like freak out. They're like, "Oh my God, he's," Granted, he had 1,000 yards with Kenny Pickett as his quarterback 2 years ago,
He also
so
led the
fair.
league in yards per catch.
Yeah, I don't really care about that stat, to be honest with
He
you.
also
Um,
wins well over 50% of his 50-50 balls.
so does every prominent wide receiver in the NFL.
I think he led the pack in contested catch um,
At the same time, though,
percentages.
there's like he's on tape with giving minimal effort, not running routes full speed. He's kind of a jerk off. So if you're Pittsburgh, you can find that production in Amari Cooper as your number two if you want to go that route for less money in the long term. So getting a third round pick for him, I would have tried to get a second personally,
I
but
don't think Jerry Jones
you
would have
know,
paid a second, being that he was on the
exactly.
final year of his deal. If he had two
And I
years
find
left,
it, and you know what? It's funny because San Francisco doesn't have a number two wide receiver right now that I'm aware of, unless you're going to say Jawan Jennings with his stupid red mohawk. You know, who else doesn't have a number two wide receiver? The Jets don't have a number two wide receiver that I'm aware of because they got rid of Devonte Adams.
I think they
So
still
now
have
they're stuck with
what's it, Alan
they have Garrett
Lazard.
Wilson. Stop. You know what I mean? Like Seattle doesn't. Well, they have Cup and Jigba. That's more like a 2A, 2B type vibe. I don't think either of them are true number ones anymore. They could have used a wide receiver. Yeah, that would have been funny. You trade Metcalf for Pickens straight up, but um, Arizona could use a number two wide out. There are a lot of teams that could use wide receiver help. And Pickens, to his credit, is a talented wide receiver. It's interesting that Dallas is willing to take the 1 year flyer on him because they still have to pay Micah Parsons. They're going to have to pay Pickens. Dak has got a $60 million price tag. Unless they're going to get rid of Dak and then draft a quarterback next year, I don't see how they're able to maneuver all of this.
Yeah, I didn't see how
So
the
it's
trade
interesting that
made sense
even
for either team.
well, it makes more sense for Dallas. I think. Well, I don't even know if it makes more sense because if you're Pittsburgh, why not rock with Pickens and Metcalf, and then presumably, as of right now, Will Howard's your starting quarterback, at least in my opinion, until we figure out what's going on with Aaron
Yeah,
Rodgers.
they want they're probably going to want Mason Rudolph to start, which I'm not too keen on. I just hope Will Howard just smokes Mason Rudolph in preseason and OTAs and training camp.
Uh, like I said, I think Will Howard is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers starting quarterback. That's just my opinion. Unless Aaron Rodgers says otherwise, I don't think there's anybody else that's going to be in that position. Regarding Pickens' biggest problem is George Pickens. Has been for the last 3 seasons.
And college.
Right. He is as good as he wants to be. He's also as bad as he wants to be. So if Schottenheimer can get the best out of him and he gives effort and all this other stuff, Cowboys got a steal for just a third round pick. But that is yet to be determined. And Mike Tomlin has a history, like you said, of trading Antonio Brown. He traded Juju or let Juju walk. Juju hasn't really been a prominent wide receiver since. I know he filled a role with the Super Bowl team with Kansas City. Where's he now? Right? You know?
I think he was back with Kansas City actually, but
Yeah.
um,
He's like the
they
number
traded
five,
Chase Claypool. He's not even in the league anymore.
not
They
in the
traded
league.
Martavis Bryant, also not in the league.
Not in the league.
They traded Mike Wallace. They traded Plexico. I think he was the only one that was dominant on the team that he won a ring with. I think in the Giants,
Mm-hmm. So
but
the Steelers seem to be pretty keen on what's wrong with a wide receiver. Who knows? History tends to repeat itself, right? So who knows? We're going to find out soon enough. I will say, though, for George Pickens, his last name being Pickens, Dak might not throw him the ball. So he should change his name to George Ketchens, and then Dak will throw him the ball. But we'll see.
definitely just a situation that I didn't really want to have to deal with. Um, by the way, the Panthers won in
Oh, they
overtime.
did.
Yep. So the
Mm-hmm.
series is now 2-1, as expected.
Interesting. And OKC is up 7 on Denver. We're see. This is what I'm saying. This is how dedicated we are that we're filming and keeping all of you posted at the same time. Like we're just giving y'all that good shit. So I hope you guys appreciate it.
Moving on to a sport that we don't really talk about much on this channel, and that's soccer.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We were pretty much glued to the screen. We were watching the other day. It was Barcelona versus Inter.
Yep.
Um,
Inter Milan.
Inter Milan. That was first of all, both legs were great games. Leg one, it ended 3-3, and leg two, it was also 3-3. Had to go into complete extra time, full 100. It was a full 120-minute game, and Inter pulled it out. It's not like Barcelona didn't have their opportunities. I mean, Yamal was putting in a ton of effort. They were gassed. Lewandowski had a couple of header opportunities and they didn't fall. And um, Inter's goalie was making some crazy acrobatic saves. And congratulations, we get to see a brand new Champions League final with PSG versus Inter Milan. And Nick, I'll let you go first on this, but what were your thoughts on leg two?
I thought when Rapinha hit that goal that it was over. I'm like heartbreak city. Who's cutting onions? But like you said, to Inter Milan's credit, they played inspired. They were resilient. They got the dub, man. I mean, there's really not much else to say. I will say this: the last time Inter Milan won the Champions League, I think it was back in like 2010. They beat Bayern Munich, but before that, they beat Barcelona in the semifinal. So I found that very interesting. So not to say that they're going to beat Paris Saint Germain in the final. All I'm saying is the last time they did, Barcelona was the team they had to get through. And this is a Barcelona team that they're atop the La Liga in Spain. Um, they have like ever since Messi left, a lot of people thought Barcelona was going to just like completely tank, but didn't happen. You know, they're still one of the most prominent football clubs in Europe, and when you think of Inter Milan, you think of a good like Italian team, like in their respective league, but there's not really the Italian club teams don't seem to fare that great in those type of European competitions, like the top of the top, like the Champions League or even the Europa, at least that I could recall. So for Inter, it's been what 15 years. They're overdue. So I'm excited to see what happens. I'm pulling for them because I am Italian, but for them to beat Barca the way they did was extremely impressive. They had to score almost when the clock struck midnight, and then they had to get another one in the extra time. So then they just answered every call. When they were down, they tied it, or they would get up. Barca would respond. It was like a heavyweight bout, and you know Inter got the better of them.
I mean,
So
Barcelona over the past like 2 weeks has had numerous big level games. I mean, they just came out of the Copa del Rey and they won
mhm.
against Real Madrid.
Yep.
Then I think it was 4 days later they play their first leg against Inter Milan, and then another 3 days later they're playing in La Liga, which you mentioned they're first in their division. Um, and then 3 days later again play the second leg against Inter Milan, and then now they got to go back into La Liga. So they're playing big game after big game against monster team after monster team, and there's a lot of pressure on Barcelona. I mean, they're a great team, but Inter Milan, there's like they were coming off. I think it was the exact opposite situation where they're playing a similar schedule, but they're losing in the Coppa Italia and the Italian Series A. They were losing in those games and then winning when it mattered in the Champions League. So it was nice to see, uh, I guess, a change of scenery because I think when you see like all these sports analysts picking all one-sided, they're like, "Oh, Barca's going, Barca's going." They said the same thing with Arsenal. It's just like it
It's
somehow
that
tends to
about
go the other
Arsenal.
way. But to their credit, they stuck with it with the last like 5 minutes left in extra time. You just saw a full two-wave defensive line of for Inter Milan where they're just like, we're just not letting you through. And even then, Yamal and Lewandowski still had their opportunities. So uh, I think it's Sommer. I don't know how to pronounce in whatever country he's from. But he came up with some massive saves. Yamal had some great opportunities. I think there was like two or three where he just ripped it. It could have been back net and fingertips away, and that was what defined the game. So it was great to see them pull it out, and I'm excited to see the finals. I do enjoy the fact that they're doing dual legs for the Champions League, so it's nice to be able to see them play on both turfs. And
Well, I think the final's only one leg, right?
is it? It might be.
I think yeah, the final's only one leg.
Yeah, that makes sense. But for the semifinals, I like the way that they're doing it with two
Mhm.
legs. Makes it a little bit more competitive. And what's cool is if you win, let's say the first leg 1-0, and then you lose the second leg 2-1, you have to go into extra time to decide the last goal, which is awesome.
Yeah. So the game, so it's Inter and PSG. It's going to be May 31st. So mark your calendar,
Yeah,
guys.
they got some
May
time.
31st, 3 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be held at the, I think it's Allianz. I think that's how you pronounce that. It's where Bayern Munich plays, so they're going to play in Munich in Germany. So it's neutral site. So that's pretty dope. I guess not really neutral, right? I mean, you could hop on a train in Europe and be in like 4 different countries in one day. Type vibe. So, I mean,
Yeah,
which is pretty sick, But
it's like some European countries are like the size of our states.
yeah, weren't they saying like France is smaller than Texas
I'm sure it
or
is.
something? Yeah, it's crazy.
But
Wow, but yeah, May
definitely
30th. I will be.
entertaining.
What day is May 31st? I don't have a calendar.
Believe May 31st is a Saturday.
It is a Saturday. Ooh, that'll be fun.
And we'll be fresh off it for our podcast episode on June 1st.
This is also true.
So
Oh, all right. Well, so yeah, guys, June 1st, we're going to be talking about the UEFA Champions League final. So,
and what's interesting
you
too is
guys are
that
ready.
the Nuggets closed the gap to 1 point.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, it's 30 to 29 right now. But what's interesting is that PSG is still seeing success, even though they didn't even play their best player, and Mbappe is no longer on the team, and they're still seeing success.
Who's their best player now?
Um,
I have to see their roster. Oh, excuse me.
Dembele,
Oh, Dembele. Okay.
yeah.
I actually know who that is.
hmm
Not personally, but hey, Dembele, please subscribe if you're a bonjour, mon ami. you know,
Yeah, I'm scrolling through the roster. I don't know too many of the other players. I'm getting back into soccer as we're doing this podcast, and it's been um, the
Warren
only other
Zaire
guy I
Emery,
recognize is Hakimi.
Hakimi,
Yeah, but once we get back into it,
Pato. Okay, they got some. They look. They got a lot. They're young.
yeah. And that's why I think people were picking Arsenal is because
They,
Arsenal was knocking on the door of winning the Champions League and not being able to get it done. And they just had the experience there. And I think that's what the tone was that Arsenal was gonna use their playoff experience and have that advantage over PSG, but it didn't seem to matter because PSG won both legs. So
mm. Well, I mean, are we surprised with Arsenal? It seems like they haven't really been able to, you know,
no, we're not.
become a
There's
squad.
always that one in sports where it's just like they just can't get it done, and
Yeah,
Arsenal's just that team, unfortunately. And Denver just took the lead,
there we go.
39-38. A lot of scoring in 2 seconds. It was just 30 to 29. Anyway, moving back to basketball, but on the women's side, uh, this
To the
past
ladies.
May 2nd started the preseason games for the WNBA. Chicago Sky played Brazil. They won 89 to 62. Another team that played Brazil was Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark's team,
Hmm.
and they won by 64 points.
64 points.
It was 108 to 44. Does that
Mm.
do those two preseason games mean anything to you, Nick? And if so, do we think that the Fever are threatening for a championship?
I want to be nice and say that beating a what is it, like a Brazilian national team
hmm
by 64 points is impressive. To be honest with you, I don't even know who else is on the Indiana Fever's roster besides Caitlin Clark. Um, I'm actually gonna do some quick googling so I don't sound stupid here. But to me,
They got Kelsey
I have
Mitchell.
to. They have who? Oh,
Kelsey
Kelsey
Mitchell,
Mitchell.
yeah, from Ohio.
Oh, they have Aaliyah Boston. No, they don't have Aaliyah Boston. Nope, that's not right. They have Kelsey Mitchell, Natasha Howard. Oh, they do have Aaliyah Boston. I know who that is. Okay. Sophie Cunningham. Don't know who that is. Lexi Hall. Oh, Brianna Turner from Notre Dame. Yep. Okay. Kayla Thompson, Caitlin Clark. Okay. So they got a good mix of veterans and younger players. Okay. Now, do I think they're a threat to win a championship? I'm not so certain. I don't think they made the playoffs last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. Um, so are
I
they a
think they
threat
did
to make
no.
the
I think
playoffs?
they made the playoffs. I think they got bounced.
Oh, did they?
I think they did. 'Cause I think I remember
Yeah.
that there's a couple of big gamblers that bet on the Indiana Fever to win the whole thing, and then they got bounced in opening round. I may be wrong on that, but that's what
Yeah.
I think I remember.
They lost 2 games to the Connecticut Sun. It looks like
Yes.
2 games
Yes.
to 0.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm yeah, they lost 2 games to 0 to the number 3 seed Connecticut Sun. So they were the 6
Hmm.
last year. Okay, so maybe I could see them jumping up to maybe a top 4, top 3. I don't know, 3 might be a stretch. They might get to like 4, but I need to see them win a series first before I'm ready to say they're championship bound, right?
Right.
Because you still have New York Liberty, who have Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu. Granted, I think Sabrina's a little overrated, but still Sabrina Ionescu. You know, uh, Las Vegas is still a good team. Minnesota's always been good. I feel like so. Um, Maybe they can make a push. I want to see what Los Angeles does with Cameron Brink coming back. That's one team that I want to watch play because I think Los Angeles is going to be much improved. So this year's going to be a pretty competitive season. I feel like, and that
I'd
that
say.
one girl Seattle just got in the first round, the French girl Malonga, that girl's going to be a beast. So I'm excited. I'm actually excited to watch WNBA basketball.
Yeah, I mean,
It's gonna be good.
it's just it's a deeper like every team
Yeah.
seems to have somebody that we know and we'd want to watch. So it's pretty cool. And I mean, when you got WNBA teams who are just, drafting college players and picking up free agents, it's not like it's a USA All-Star team or the USA Olympic team, and they're beating an entire national team and holding them. Not one player on the Brazil national team scored double-digit points. I think the highest points scored were five. Not, oh, excuse me, nine off the bench. But still, that's very impressive. I mean, that just goes to show the depth of these teams. Even the Chicago Sky held them 62 points. Um, it's pretty good.
Also, there's a new team right this year. Golden
Yes.
State.
Yes.
Okay, the Valkyries. Oh, that's a cool
Yeah.
name. Who's on the Valkyries? Golden State Valkyries.
So
That's
now I guess
that's cool.
that sparked a new question.
Mhm.
Maybe you can look this up as I'm asking it, but
Sure.
um, is that sort of a situation like in hockey where an expansion team comes in and some teams sort of have to give away some players? It's like basically donate. You get something in return, but like when the Vegas Golden Knights came in, the Penguins gave them
Oh,
Marc-Andre
like
Fleury.
yeah, yeah. I can look. Is that how they did that?
I don't know. I was
Uh,
asking because I know hockey and basketball share a lot. Even though they're two different sports, they both share like very similar views. I mean, they got this for men's at least. They both do 82 games. They both do the best of seven series. They both have lottery drafts. We haven't seen an expansion team in the NBA in quite some time, so this is sort of new to me. But
You have to look because I'm seeing their roster right now. They got Chen from UConn. They drafted Caitlin Chen. Uh, a couple. They got a few international players too. How did they comprise this roster though? Is
speaking of
the question.
UConn, Paige Beckers, while you look that out, Paige Beckers scored 10 in her preseason debut. Um, Still showing no fear. We'll see if she can.
Okay, so
Go ahead, Nick.
it so I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good.
So looks like a WNBA expansion draft had occurred early in December of 2024, and Golden State participated in its first WNBA draft this year in 2025. So
Yeah,
WNBA,
December 2024 was their off season because their season is
they end
during
like
the
October,
NBA
right?
off season. Yeah.
So okay, here we go. The Golden State Valkyries, which is the WNBA's 13th franchise, conducted their expansion draft on December 6th, 2024, to build their initial roster. They had selected 11 players from the existing 12 NBA teams, plus a designated core player in January. The draft was a key step in the Valkyries' preparation for their debut season, which will be this year, to allow Golden State to select players from existing rosters to form their inaugural team. Each of
So
the 12 existing teams submitted a list of all players they had their rights to and could choose to protect up to 6 players on their roster from being drafted.
very similar to hockey.
Yeah, so it looks like they could pick basically one player from each team, but there's only like each team got to protect up to 6 of their own players. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Valkyrie selected one player from each of the 11 remaining teams, plus a designated core player. They also had the option to trade with existing teams to select specific players. Okay. Only one player selected in the expansion draft could be an unrestricted free agent following the 2024 season. This unrestricted free agent could not have previously played under a core player contract for 2 or more seasons. What is a core? There's so much we have to learn. A core kind of sounds like bird rights, I guess, maybe
Mm.
similar. So the Valkyries will continue to add players through free agency, which began February of 2025, and for the upcoming 2025 WNBA draft, which already passed. And they are kicking off, I believe the regular season starts next week. So
Yep.
that'll be cool.
Speaking of UConn, since we talked about Chen, uh, Paige Beckers, I had mentioned, went she had 10 points in her opening
Sweet.
preseason game. She started. I think there were 17 players that played that game. She played 23 minutes. She went 4 for 7 from the field, including 2 of 3 from three. She had 4 rebounds, 1 assist. I mean, it's going to take some time for her to get her WNBA legs. I mean, she played at UConn for quite some time, so she had chemistry there. Confidence. I mean, there's probably slightly different parameters. I don't know for a fact if the 3-point line is slightly further back in the WNBA as it is in college. I know for the NBA it is, but just to even have the coaches okay to start when you're a new draft, a newly drafted player, then I mean it's pretty impressive. I mean we'll see where it goes. She's gonna have to learn the ropes of the WNBA, but we're all excited to see it, especially being from Connecticut, and we always support our uh, homegrown players. So
Mm-hmm.
very excited.
What do you think? What do you think the odds are for? Don't they do like rookie of the year and stuff? Like, do you think they got bets on that?
They probably do. She's probably the odds-on favorite right now, if I had to think.
Oh
Um,
wow, they do. Uh, so right now The betting favorite to be the WNBA champion are the Liberty
Okay.
at plus. Fever are Indiana Fever are second,
Wow.
tied with Las Vegas,
Hmm.
and then Minnesota is fourth,
You got
and
rookie of the
then
year already?
all the way at second to last is the Connecticut Sun. Let's go, baby! Uh, make playoffs. These are team awards, or team bets, futures. Okay, let's see. Regular season MVP. The favorite is Asia Wilson. Second favorite is Caitlin Clark.
Okay.
Wow. Nafisa Collier third. Brianna Stewart fourth. Paige Becker's on here. Not for MVP. Oh, that's okay. All
The
right.
odds of a
Anyway, the
player
one
being
we care
drafted
about.
and becoming MVP is tough.
Rookie of the year, the betting favorite. The only player with a minus is Paige Beckers at
Hmm.
minus 300.
I figured.
Dominique Dominique Malonga is second at
Also a
plus
good player.
600. Sonia Citron at plus 1,000. Kiki Irifen. Haley Van Lith is plus 5,000. I might
Uh,
take that. Van Lith. I think she's gonna have a great year.
we'll see. I mean, she's reuniting with Angel Reese. We'll see what happens there.
What, what
Um,
were her stats against the Brazilian national team?
let me see
Did you
real
say they
quick.
played Brazil?
They did their opening game was against Brazil. I got it up now. The stats are box score. Stats are I don't even see her. Oh, Haley Van Lith, 13 minutes. She had 7 points. She was 1 for 2 from the field, so that means she was shooting free throws. Angel
I'm gonna take
Reese.
Paige Beckers for rookie of the year.
Being a
All right.
minus, being a minus this early is crazy, but um,
Mhm.
it just shows the pedigree that she could be on. Anyway, Nick, I don't know if you have a rant today, but I'll just briefly go through my picks, my
Yeah,
Baywoods
man.
bets.
Yeah, you can do your bets. Go ahead, man. You can go first.
Just looking to see here. All right, I am going with the NBA games just seem too easy for this week, so I'm gonna switch over to the NHL quick. I'm gonna go with on Sunday night. I'm gonna go with the Panthers to even the series. I think it goes back to Toronto 2-2.
2-2.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. So they play at 7:30 on Sunday. Florida currently is a minus 210 on
And the
Fanatics.
over is hit every time. I'm also maybe leaning towards the under.
Going under 6.5.
Yes, I'm thinking about it. I won't know until day of, but when every game hits the over, it's probably going to be a lockdown situation. So we'll see. Um,
Mm.
it's not often in playoff hockey where you're getting high scoring 4-3, 5-4, 4-3 again. Um, it's not when you're getting 7+ goals in playoff hockey. It doesn't seem sustainable. I mean, I think the goaltenders are going to have to start saving stuff, even though they're getting shots peppered at them. I mean, still having over 90% save percentage is great, but I think it'll be a low scoring one. So I'd go with Florida, maybe 2-1. I'm going exact pick here, but we'll see. Nick, go ahead. I
But
don't know if you have a rant.
Florida
I
for
know
sure.
we've both went on numerous rants already, but if you got one that you're aching to get out, let's hear it.
I don't really got much of a rant per se, more not a prediction, but I love just talking about my New York Knicks, but it's more about the Celtics this time. This I'm going to make about the Celtics. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock, Madison Square Garden, the Mecca, New York City. If the Boston Celtics lose tomorrow, it might set the Celtics back a few years. They recently sold their team, new ownership. You have two supermax contract players on your roster who are not performing. Well, Jaylen Brown played decently, but you have Jason Tatum, who has been a no-show in the fourth quarter in overtime in this series. You have Porzingis, who has some sort of illness. They don't know how to identify. They don't know what's going on. They go down 3-0. They're going to lose the series, whether it be a sweep, gentleman's sweep, whatever. I guess this would be my lock of the week. There is no way the Celtics will recover from 3-0 down against this Knicks team. It's not going to happen. And I would not be shocked if they do lose this series that they pull a trade with one of those max contracts. I not to say that Jason Tatum might be a Laker next season.
Don't get my hopes up.
They might pull it. They might trade LeBron James for Jason Tatum.
Interesting. We're gonna have to
Maybe.
discuss
I don't
this.
know.
We're gonna have to discuss that situation with Cam.
Yeah, because I don't know. Boston would have to do something drastic to keep themselves as the upper echelon of the Eastern Conference, right? Because New York's clearly coming up, Indiana's coming up. You have Cleveland. Orlando's a young team that's coming up. Philadelphia's looking to bounce back. They still have Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey. So
Can you
if
picture?
if you're,
Can you picture Kristaps Porzingis reuniting with Luka?
I don't know if Luka wants Porzingis back, to be honest with you. But I
Luka's
think
more of the player that wants the center that's in the paint, not on the 3-point line.
well, I'll tell you. I mean, it's possible. Don't get me wrong. The Lakers, not to say. I mean, they have Jackson Hayes. They don't play him. They want a big that they can trust, right? Redick is going to want a guy like Porzingis. It's not unrealistic. That could very easily happen. But I think one of those, I guess we'll say the big three, right? Tatum, Brown, and Porzingis. We'll just call it that. One of them will be gone if they lose this series. That's going to be my prediction. Not really a rant, more of a prediction. Calling it right now.
Okay.
And
Just
it would
so that
not
we don't
shock me if it's
so we don't forget that 5-9. Nick says
5-9 what?
if no, that's today's date.
Oh, yeah, May 9th. Yeah, write it down.
Nick says if Knicks
If
win,
Boston loses to the Knicks, specifically tomorrow, if they lose game 3, they will lose the series, and they're going to trade either Jason Tatum or Porzingis.
mark it down, ladies and gentlemen.
Mark it.
We have a habit of being right on this show. We are unapologetic for that.
I can just sense it. And if I'm wrong, I'll come out here and say I'm wrong. I have no problem being wrong at all. But I prefer to be right. So I can't see them keeping the same team 3 years in a row. I just can't see it happening. Especially if they lose the way they've been losing. They keep doing this.
And
Something's got to change.
this has been their formula all season though too. Is like they either destroy by the three or they choke leads. And
Mhm. And I doubt they'll get rid of Mazzola because he just won a championship, right? You don't fire a coach after the year after he wins a championship and you get back to the second round of the playoffs
mm,
as a top 2 seed. You don't do that. So you at least give him a chance to redeem. But
the Lakers did it with Frank Vogel.
this is true. But Frank Vogel is not Joe Mazzola. So, but yeah, that's my prediction. Mark it. And I'm sure Cam is going to listen to this probably tomorrow. And I'm going to get a text. He's gonna be like, boy, what are you talking about? But
I leave for one
we're
episode,
going
you
to have,
start talking crazy.
we're, yeah, exactly. But we're going to have, I apologize about my creaky chair, by the way. I feel like I've been
Mine's
just
creaky
moving
too.
around for 2.5 hours.
I
Just
haven't heard if you haven't heard
oh.
mine, I haven't heard yours at all. So um
So people listening at home, make sure you guys subscribe and stuff so that, your boy can get a not squeaky chair, you know?
maybe off the
But yeah.
Fanatic store.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. You got to build up that fan cash. Build up that fan cash, baby.
Anyway,
But
we
yeah.
surprisingly hit the 2 hour mark with only the two of us. Um, I thought it was going to be a relatively short episode, but it looks like we had enough content to drag it out a bit. Um, Pretty interesting topics. Excited to talk next week with Mr. Griffin returning, and
Yes, Cam will be back next week.
sooner rather than later, we will have uh, in person, uh, camera on. You can see our faces, our live reactions. We will have video to go along with the audio, indoor and outdoor, depending on the weather. It's never predictable in the state. And, bonfire, got beers. We'll have it all. We'll support local companies, get some local beers, some local food, shout them out. Maybe they'll shout us out, and we'll make it awesome. And hoping to get some guest features on the show sometime soon.
Mhm.
So big things happening around here. But thank you guys for watching. We'll catch you guys next week.
Better guys.